So we usually start off with just some kind of human interest, some kind of a little bit about your background and family, and some kind of fun questions. The first one I'll ask, think about your latest. Thank you very much. Thank you. You guys need? Okay. Your most recent Google search. What was your most recent Google search?
Can I check the phone?
Yeah, you can check your phone.
I mean, I do Google searches about every 10 minutes, so I don't know. Actually, I don't know how to check that. I don't know, most recent Google search? It would be, I just Google searched someone who filled out a lead form. So I'm always searching, researching people who are customers.
Was it empw.com or whatever?
No.
Okay. We had one. We had somebody hit our site 60 some times yesterday, and I
was it a bot?
Well, I didn't know. So I pulled up the address, and it's the page is it's 404 page. So
gotcha.
Probably a bot.
Unsubscribe from that report. That report kills you.
There's
a HubSpot report that says like, who's visiting your site? And it's like all these companies, but you don't know who they are, so it's almost, I feel, somewhat pointless to look at it.
But it feels so good.
I know. People from Microsoft are on our website.
Yeah, that's right.
But who?
Facebook. That's 100 times.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. That's interesting. Well, more fun and human interest. Love to hear a little bit about your families. Tim, you want to start?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about your...
My wife, Laurel, is in the back there.
Thank you for coming.
And it's just two of us.
Okay.
For now.
Dogs, cats?
No dogs or cats. I would have all the animals.
Okay.
And she would have none of the animals. Well, she wants one of those little rat dogs.
Oh, gotcha.
Sort of a hamster.
Something to just carry on the plane.
Yeah, right. And I would pull it down the hall.
Great. Gotcha.
Right. I have 3 kids. I have my son's a sophomore in college now. He actually works at the company as a SDR. My wife works at the company as in HR.
As well as probably a lot of other things, right?
Yeah, I've got a 14-year-old daughter I'm trying to figure out which job she wants.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out.
How's your son? Did you mention?
He's 19.
19,
yeah.
okay.
So then I have a 9-year-old daughter too. So my 14-year-old daughter just got into SCPA, so that's kind of a new change for us. Every day we're driving her down here, and she walks over to the office. So we see her in the office a lot. She doesn't have a job yet.
Gotcha.
She comes over to the office after school. So.
Gotcha. We could put her to work.
Yeah, I know. She could
good.
do something, right?
Gotcha.
There's a lesson there about employing family.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're cheap and they incentive to work hard.
Okay. Gotcha.
And it's great because, before, honestly, I invited Shannon to come work because every day I get home from work, she'd be like, "What happened?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "I don't want to talk about this."
Can you just
I just lived through this stress.
Just come.
Just come, and you tell me, what happened.
So it was efficiency. It was basically time saving.
Absolutely, and sanity. Yeah. That's the one thing you don't want to do. I'm sure if any of you have your own business, you don't want to go home every day and talk about what happened because it's usually more downs than ups.
Yeah.
You don't want to you're home.
Yeah. At your stage. Gotcha. Well, cool. Thank you for sharing that. So love to kind of get into the background. Tim, what were you like as a kid? What was a 10-year-old kid, man? Were you the aspiring entrepreneur back then? Were you a science guy, tech guy?
I was a science guy.
Okay.
Super shy.
Okay.
Quiet, very quiet. Still very shy. Don't like being on stages very much, but
it's very informative.
No, it's good. I've learned to appreciate it. But yeah, I loved technology, so I was always engaged in it. But I was science. I was sort of pushed into I was going to be a doctor. I was pushed into that path, and so took all the chemistry and biology through college. And,
interesting.
Yeah, but technology won. Actually, I went into finance out of school.
Okay.
I worked for a hedge fund for a while, but all in data.
Gotcha. So, and backtrack a little bit. So, entrepreneurs in the family, or what was your perception of entrepreneurship?
I think I'm an entrepreneur by accident.
Okay.
I never thought about being an entrepreneur. I never set out to start things. But when I look back at my life, I've always been pretty opportune. I like to be involved in new things. When people are doing new things, I like to be a part of it. And so I think it was more that I'm just attracted to new stuff. But I didn't know when I left the fund and started my first company, I didn't even know that was a thing we really did.
Just gotcha.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about venture or tech startups or any of that. So this has been an interesting, very educational journey.
Gotcha. Cool. Right. What's you?
Okay, as a kid, I had a TRS-80, if anyone's old enough to know what those computers were like.
Yeah.
Cassette deck to load and save software. Pretty cool. Yeah, it was pretty amazing stuff.
Rad.
War games.
Yeah, games. I played a lot of video games.
Okay.
Every system from Pong up.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. I was born at the perfect time to experience every video game ever made.
Gotcha.
But I don't do much anymore. As far as entrepreneurship, I did. My grandparents were actually, I didn't think about it until just now, but my grandparents were entrepreneurs. They were small business owners.
Okay.
My parents were not, but I probably had some exposure to that. But really, I started as an entrepreneur when I quit school. I quit school after like a year and a half, and I wanted to be a computer trainer. I knew computers really well.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get a job doing that because I didn't have an education degree. That's what they were all like, oh, well, you need to have an education degry to be a trainer. I'm like, no, you kind of need to know about computers to teach about computers. Like, that's obvious, right? I'm kind of a rebellious type, and so I'm like, well, fuck it, I'm going to start a computer training company.
Yeah.
And I did,
Yeah.
So we did that. I did that for a while until like 95 when the World Wide Web was starting to commercialize and kind of shifted away from that. But I would just say, like, I don't know, there's just a little bit of fearlessness. I wasn't like fearless as a kid necessarily. Like, I didn't like climb things and almost kill myself. But from a business standpoint, I don't know. I must have read a book or something, that influenced me.
Yeah.
Honestly, I wouldn't say, like, I think it was Tony Robbins. I listened to Tony Robbins right around that time.
Getting that too. Yeah.
Huge fan of Tony Robbins.
Brian Tracy and
Brian Tracy. I listened to all that
Charles
stuff.
Soule.
I had all these CDs, and tapes and shit, and it was very transformative. Like,
so when was that?
That was my mentor.
When you were
early '90s, right as I was leaving school.
Okay.
And pretty much told me I could do anything I wanted to do, right? So I did.
Gotcha. Did you have sort of both? And this question is for both you guys. Sort of a common denominator of sort of problem solving and identifying different things. Hey, I'd like to do something about that, or solve that problem, or anything like that.
I like experimenting.
Okay.
So I was always building experiments.
Yeah, sure, with the science and
Yeah, and I think experiments are really fun. And I have a bit of a broken risk gauge on some of that stuff. Like, I remember we had to evacuate the chemistry lab once because I was trying to create the highest molarity acid you could possibly make. Gotcha. So I was combining all these acids, and I think I ended up making like mustard gas by accident. So that was bad. But I loved experimenting with things. So I don't know if that's problem solving. It wasn't always a problem. It was more just like, what if you did this? What would happen if you did that? Wonder.
Wonder. Okay, gotcha.
When I got started, there was no internet yet. So, I mean, you learn things in books. And there was no books that talked about, like, lean startup, like identify a problem and, iterate. Like, that was just like, I mean, there were business books. There was like Good to Great, big business books were the only thing that existed at the time. So, I mean, when I got started, there was almost no guidance. Like, go to SCORE, go talk to old retired executives was the advice. Like, if you want to start a business, that's how you did it. You talk to a retired executive, which I tried that and it was horrible.
Yeah, gotcha. So, love to hear some of the backstory just of how you guys got connected. Where did you first meet? And this, maybe you can answer both of these. I'll kind of give you a double barrel question here. So, I'd love to hear kind of the backstory, but also give us a sense of some of the other things that you were working on at the time, sort of as astronomer, or whatever it was before astronomer, kind of emerged.
I would say Tim Metzner should be here. Almost.
Yeah,
because he was the catalyst.
I invited him. I don't know.
Yeah, where is Tim?
I think he just had a
kid. Yeah, he's got like
you have
1 week old,
kids
something like that.
Just because he had 4 kids in 2 years doesn't mean
it's amazing he's alive.
Yeah,
I think it was 4 years. But.
We actually met. So Ryan and I met. It's probably been like 5-6 years ago now.
Okay.
We were both launching ventures, not astronomer, separate ventures at that moment, and we ended up working out of Crossroads. Has this big atrium that has free internet, free coffee, free parking. It was just like perfect spot. So we were both launching
Oakland, right?
Oakland. We were launching our 2 businesses. He was launching Differential, which is a software development agency, and I was launching Cladwell, which is a clothing tech, apparel tech company. And I don't remember I don't know if like Blake ended up talking to you.
Oh, it was Blake and Tim maybe.
So the two guys, our other two co-founders who aren't here. So they connected, and then we ended up
connectors. They are very different.
They're the connector, yeah. So they talk and we do. But we ended up partnering to build. So my company, we needed our first application built. They needed a first client, so we joined forces.
I don't know if you remember, I was reminded again last night. Andy Hill said, "Speed kills deals."
Yeah.
We met every day for 5 days to get the deal done.
Yeah, we did.
I remember Tim came to me, he's like, I got this, Gladwell, they work out of here, and I talked to Blake, and I'm like, let's meet with them today, and so luckily they were right there. But we got together every day and ironed out all the details, and I think in 5 days we had a deal. And
it was complex because there was equity. Yeah. It was a really messy deal.
But, I'm sure. So what? And was it? Was the concept of Astronomer, identified straight out of the gate, or I know there was, I remember, was it User Cycle, is that right?
Yeah.
That there was an analytics platform that was kind of in the mix, and at least that's my perception at the time.
It was a unicycle company for recovering drug addicts.
Was it Unicycle, was it? Yeah.
No, we did have somebody say, User Cycle? What is that, a bike program for addicts?
Yes.
No. Good guess.
It's a precursor to Red Bike, right?
Yeah, so years after that initial meeting, when we were working on Cladwell, Rye reached out and said, well, you should tell the story because it starts with you guys.
Yeah, so as I was starting to, I've done so many things, it's I forget most of the things I've done, but as I was starting Differential, I was actually working, I had 4 jobs at the time.
Yeah.
I was working for Student Source, which was a startup out of UpTech. I was working for Crowd Hall, which was a startup out of Brandery. I was thinking about this differential thing, and I was also working on a product called User Cycle for a guy, Ash Maurya, the author of Running Lean, out of Boston. And I told him as I was leaving, I had to decide what I wanted to do with my life. I chose to go full time with Differential, but I told Ash, I said, if you ever this product's gonna fail, with this team, typical asshole leaving thing, but I said, if you ever want to turn it over to somebody to run, I'm interested. And 2 years later, he did reach out. Maybe it was I don't know, it seems like 2 years, maybe been 6 months, but I think it was around 2 years later. He's like, hey, we're kind of thinking of winding it down. And I said, well, I'll take it over. Give me 60% equity in it, and I'll take it over. And that's for nothing. I'm not going to buy it. I just want you give me 60% equity, and I'll care about it. And he said yes.
I'll care about it.
And I was like, all right. I was now what? I didn't really expect that.
Should have said 70.
I know.
On it.
80. We should have.
And so then I was like, what am I going to do about this thing? And I don't know why I think I called you though. Yeah. Or emailed you.
We hadn't talked in probably a year and a half or so.
Yeah. I think I had heard, that maybe you were thinking of doing something else. Probably there was a whisper of that. And so I was reached out to Tim and said, hey, I got this thing. You want to do it? It seems interesting. I was still full-time engaged with Differential at the time. So he decided to do it. And then what happened?
Oh man! So we took over this product, which was a mess. It was a hot mess. He had
this is User Cycle, right?
This is User Cycle. It was an analytics platform.
I saw it once.
Did you?
Yeah.
Sorry.
It was interesting that it had user in the.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
So he had built this thing with Rye's help, but then shelved it for years. I mean, it had just sat on a shelf doing, decaying. He actually had a user base. I think it was making $4,000 a month or something. Yeah. But there was, it was a real tragedy. So we took it over, and we were like, maybe we can turn this because there's a product built. It's in the market. Ash has a great brand equity, and maybe we can actually build this thing up, raise a little capital, and try to blow it out. But we were so late to the analytics game. Had he done that when he first had the idea, he probably could have made a pretty good run at it.
Yeah.
But by the time we tried to go to market with that and take it, grow it, there were 50 competitive products in the market that had been there for years. So
one of your first moves was let's go talk to investors
and see what the environment is. And they're like, yeah, how are you different from this giant list of competitors? Well, our product sucks.
It's a team.
Yeah, it's an MVP that was abandoned 2 years ago. That's really different.
That's different.
Right.
We'll try really hard.
That's right.
So I had a pretty nice investor base through Cladwell, and was able to raise some capital. And that bought us probably 8-9 months of just hustle time. And we tried everything we could think of, and just nothing was working. So we had sort of a last we were basically completely out of money, and I wasn't going to ask anybody else for money, knowing this thing was a sinking ship. And we had won a free booth at a conference, collision conference in Vegas.
It's a good conference.
Yeah, it's a great conference. I don't know how we did it. Yeah, so
we're like, should we go?
Yeah, we went for a walk around the block, and we were like, well, we have no money, we have no real prospects of this thing being successful, but let's go to this conference and just see what happens. Behind the scenes, I had already started lining up jobs for the whole team.
Oh, gotcha.
So I was like, I had found jobs for pretty much everybody, and it was sort of a Hail Mary. We went, and the first day of the conference, Ryan and I split up, and we put one of our guys, Ben, on the booth. We're like, man the booth, we're gonna just go to these sessions. So we each went to different sessions. We came back, and my session was on microservice, like the emergence of microservice architectures, which I found super interesting. And I can't remember what yours was on.
Mine was on just dev business.
Okay.
Like the attractiveness for investors and to invest in dev tools.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So we sat down, and I was like, we need to focus on one piece of the stack. Like, there's so many layers to the analytics stack, from the very base, like data collection, ETL, all the way up through data modeling and into visualization. Like, let's pick one piece of that stack, focus in on that. You were thinking like we should build a tool for developers.
Yeah.
So we're like, interesting. We could put those two together.
Gotcha.
Focus purely on sort of the ETL parts of that stack, but build it for engineers.
Gotcha.
And it wasn't that clean. We like to make it sound like it was really nice.
Yeah, but it was called Red 2 for a few days.
Oh, yeah.
Red 2.
Yeah.
So anyway, we then took the whole rest of the day and all through the night, bought a bunch of beer, and just like worked on a pitch deck for this idea, and then spent the whole next day pitching it. So we left Ben at the booth for User Cycle, peddling user cycles.
That's quite a pivot.
Oh man, we went around just pitching anybody who would listen. Red 2.
We had investor meetings set up.
Yeah, we did.
I'm like, let's.
It's pretty impressive. I mean,
tell us about User Cycle. We're like, no, we're going to tell you about this other idea.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but the reception was amazing. I mean, people really were like, "Wow, that's pretty interesting. That's a big market. If you can actually do what you say you can do." Yeah.
It's funny because you hear that phrase a lot, like, "Hey, no, how long have you been thinking about your idea? Oh, for 6 months to a year. This is not something we just came up with last night on a cocktail
8 hours.
This is something you just came up with last night on a cocktail napkin, right?"
Fortunately, nobody asked us.
Yeah, that's good. No, that's great. So, as the idea and the market problem crystallizes, and you're like, okay, I'm going to go do this thing. You guys still sort of had your hands in different things, correct? Like Unpolished, and you talk a little bit about that, but talk about that decision making to focus on Astronomer. Was it investors saying, hey, look, I'll give you some money, but you got to focus this kind of a thing? Or
right around that time we applied. I don't know when we applied to.
Right when we got back.
Yeah, we got back. We were still out of money, so I don't know how we
raised a little. So I think that's when Morris invested in Kyle.
Okay, all right.
So we got just a couple of Hail Mary investments that never should have happened, but bridged us for 3-4 more months.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. And then we applied to AngelPad thinking there was zero chance. I remember recording the video, 2 takes. Like second take we sent it. And it was This is our CTO right here. Yeah, Greg's been with us since the User Cycle days. We sent the second take in, and thought nothing of it. And then I was like, I think there was a day where I'm like, I wonder when AngelPad makes their decisions, And so I just emailed the guy. I was like, hey, are you guys? I said we made a ton of progress, Are you guys looking at applications? Like, oh yeah, you should come in for an interview. I'm like, did I just get an interview because I pinged them right then? I think so.
Yeah.
So that's a lesson to everyone. Don't wait for them to reach out to you. Just go get them.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh yeah, come in. I'm like, okay, this week.
Yeah.
Come to New York.
It was on the 4th too of July or something.
Had you applied anywhere else, or did you focus on AngelPad for a specific reason? Love to know.
No, it was number 1.
Yeah,
that year we saw the rankings come out. It was number 1. Okay. I was like, we should apply to that one.
We applied to 500 Accelerator.
Aim high, man.
We got an interview there.
That was in User Cycle.
Was that User Cycle?
Oh yeah, that was User Cycle. We pitched him for User Cycle, and he was like,
"Oh, this is so bad."
You probably ended up on a blog post somewhere or something like that.
He did end up investing.
Oh, did he?
Which is funny.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So we decided to do a 24-hour trip to and from. So the tough thing is it was like a half-hour meeting in New York City at noon, like 3 days later. So what do? You drive to New York overnight. Or no, I don't even remember when we left. Were you in the car too?
Kern came.
Yeah, but these guys, Kern's, that's a funny little side story to this, but like us three founders kind of like went to the interview. We just drove there for the half-hour meeting and drove back because there was no other
We
reason.
had no money. We couldn't afford a hotel.
We couldn't afford New York
tickets.
Did we stay overnight? Okay.
Where?
Somewhere in Pennsylvania, right outside.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the timing would have been.
Remember we listened to the Mystery Show podcast on the way.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But Brad decided to like tag on because he was getting ready to just figure out what he was going to do. He wanted to leave differential, and he's like, I think I was just on the phone with you or something. I'm like, we're going to New York. Like, do you want to go? I think he was interested in what we were doing, sniffing around, and so I was like, yeah, come with us. It'd be like an interview, a really long interview in a car.
Yeah, right. Hopefully you don't figure out it's not going to work out like 2 hours in the trip, or else it's like going to be pretty awkward.
We knew him well enough.
Yeah.
But I think you were meeting with someone, like there was a possible venture in New York that you had a meeting there too. But by the time we got back, he was like, I'm in with you guys.
Gotcha.
So he had, again, like speed.
That was a wild interview, by the way. Do you remember the interview? So AngelPad, just if you don't know about it, it's an accelerator program that tries people really low profile. It's run by this insane German. And he just he screams and swears and he tries to intimidate you constantly, like berating you. And oh, it's awful. It's terrible. You loved it, but I hated it. But anyway,
he's like a young one. He's probably like older than me, but he seems young, tall.
Really good looking.
Ex-Google guy.
Yeah,
so
super smart.
I think he was as much ex-Google as he is German, but
we got there. We got to the accelerator like 15 minutes early, and he comes out. He's in another. They're interviewing another company. He walks out. He's like, "Who are you?" And we're like, "Oh, we're Astronomer. We're here for your next thing." He's like, "Why are you here early? What's wrong with you? If I say be here at this time, be here at this time. Don't come early. You're wasting your time." We're like, "Okay, all right, we're noted." And then we had the interview, and it runs like 40 minutes over. Like, you are a mess.
Man.
And I asked him, I said, was it good that it went long? Because I was like, it was supposed to be 15 minutes, right?
Yeah,
oh, wow.
15 minutes.
15-minute interview. It was like 40 minutes, and I was like, later on I asked him, was that good that it went long? He's like, no, that was very bad. I couldn't understand what you guys did,
Gotcha.
I'm like, all right.
Well, that's a good segue, because I usually start with this, but I got into it very, very quickly. But let's park it here and tell us what Astronomer is.
Do you have 40 minutes?
Baby.
Yeah. What would you say you do? What is Astronomer?
Yeah, Tim, go for it. Tim, we're a modern platform for data engineering.
Okay.
All right, so no one knows what data engineering is. People generally understand what platform means, but bottom line is we were trying to reduce the friction to build pipelines of data from some source to some destination to power. It could be analytics, it could be data science, it could be machine learning or AI. But bottom line, there's a lot of potential in data, but in today's world, it's all scattered in a bunch of silos. Even small businesses, data is all scattered, but big businesses is even worse. A company like Great American Insurance has 40 business units who have scattered data, and then those business units are scattered, right? And so they've bought Hadoop, and it's empty right now. So there's a lot of money going into the idea of centralizing and getting some value out of data, but it's extremely hard because data has gravity. It wants to stay where it is. Mostly because engineers are lazy and they don't want to do anything. So
it's very insightful. Data has gravity.
So it's tough to do anything with data far away from where it wants to live or where it is. It just costs money, or whatever. So our platform is designed to really just reduce that friction and enable those sorts of applications. And that's all. It doesn't do any storage. We don't do any analytics. We don't do visualizations. We just empower people who need to move data in order to get some value out of it. So
who buys it?
Nobody. No. We've got some great customers.
The individual, like
a chief data officer or head of analytics.
Gotcha.
Basically, someone who has promised the company that they were going to do cool shit with their data, but they're not able to.
I wasn't being provocative. They're like, who's going to buy that? No, I was being sincere.
Todd, gotcha. Jeez.
I told him these would all be softballs. Others there, and I'm going to I think we started maybe like a little bit late, so I'm gonna go a little bit more, but if we want to give people a chance to do Q&A, and we usually have some great questions from the audience here in a little bit, but not really grenade per se, but just an interesting story. Tell me about the role switch and how you guys started, the roles that you were in, how those evolved.
How do you know about that?
That's interesting. I do my research.
Did we ever blog about that already?
I don't remember.
I do prepare a little bit for these interviews.
That's impressive. We don't talk about it a lot. Yeah, so when we started, I was CEO. And I was CEO through the user cycle days, and for a while at Astronomer, but not terribly long, because when we went to the interview at AngelPad, he asked us one of the questions. One of the questions was like, "Why are you CEO?" And I was like, "Calm down." And we didn't have a good answer. I mean, I didn't necessarily. I don't think either of us. I remember actually when we were working on user cycle, I took him to breakfast once, and I was like, "I think you should be CEO." He's like, "I don't want to be CEO. I want to build product." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll be CEO."
So by default.
But I don't think either of us really wanted to be CEO. I think when you're a founder, anyway. So he asked us that.
Dig into that because I think that's interesting. Like the roles, like do you?
I think different personalities handle that role differently, or maybe see that role differently. I think probably what's maybe true about both of us, and I think it's been part of why we've really enjoyed working together, is I think we probably both see ourselves as founders first, and I think titles like CEO, which I actually have a lot of respect for, and I really respect Rai as CEO of the business. I think it's great. I think he does a phenomenal job of it. But at the end of the day, like, when you're a founder, and that means you wear whatever hat the business needs you to wear, and you do whatever the business needs you to do.
And that may change next month.
Yeah, and it changes constantly, and sometimes it's 8 hats, and sometimes it's 2, and it's rarely 1.
Yeah, I think changes come to everyone. Again, I look around the room, some of the people, and like Greg's position changed in the past couple of months. Brad's did, like Brad's has changed 4 times. Tim has changed, and obviously we changed super early. So, and it'll probably change again. Like there's gonna be a day where we probably get to a point where I'm not the right CEO anymore, and that's just like I hope that day's way in the future, and maybe I can avoid it. But like I'm also realistic about it, and so I mean at the end of the day, at that point I'm now back to founder. That's really that's the strength. That's the true role that we have.
Yeah.
So I'd love to dig into sort of the self-awareness lessons that you've learned along the way, not only from that experience, but just the future. I mean, I know we talked, and what I've heard about is you're kind of a data modeler and go-to-market and models and planning things out, and you're visionary sales guy. Is that pretty accurate, or for lack of a better term?
I would say I've slipped into much more of an ops role as we've grown. I mean, we grew a lot, so we're at like 40 some people now, and I think there's just so much now to do operationally. I still build a lot of Excel models, financial models, which I love doing that. But but you do vision sales for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I view myself as a developer. At my core, but I also recognize that you can't be a CEO without doing things other than development.
Right.
I don't do any dev anymore at all, but that's who I really feel like I am deep down inside. So I used to have this really bad attitude about sales. I mean,
it's a tech thing, right? I mean, most tech people are sales averse.
I think even up till a few years ago, like there was not a lot of respect for growth teams, just like the role of marketing and sales and all that. And to me, it's become as respectable of a role and as important of a role in the company as the dev side. And I think it's as interesting of a career path and honestly very exciting day-to-day thing to do. And so I think with that kind of flipping over, I've definitely spent a lot more time there. Plus, I have to.
Gotcha. I want to come back to that growth because I want to talk about that. But before we leave the self-awareness thing, I know that I've heard Rai, specifically you, and I haven't heard much from you, Tim, on this topic, but kind of the biggest challenge is just from again self-awareness or kind of the way you work standpoint, Brian, I know you talk about focus because you're such an idea guy, and you identify all these problems and are interested and curious and doing things, and maybe you to a certain extent from doing experiments and want to try that out. I'm a big fan of Masters of Scale podcast, and a couple weeks ago he was talking about the fires that are going on that sometimes that are a fire and you just have to ignore the fire because there's bigger fires. What are some of those fires that are true fires that you've had to ignore along the way?
So many fires.
To keep your focus.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just there's so many that you can't count them.
Yeah.
Like I was just thinking of I have a conversation with Taylor that I wanted to have for the past week or 2 weeks. It's like I'd consider that a little bit of a fire. He would consider it a little bit of a fire.
Yeah.
It's like I have to ignore that because I also have somebody else is about ready to quit.
Right.
Or whatever the thing might be. So I think that you have to be that way. I always say a startup, people think of startups as this pristine, like you start a startup. I probably said this to Marcy before. And it's like, you think it's pristine and beautiful newborn thing, but no, it's like straight F's report card wise.
Yeah.
And the way to get to A's is through D, C, B, and A. And that's painful as hell to watch that,
Right.
I realized I gave ourselves a scorecard. I scorecarded our company the other day, just to prep for a conversation with someone who was frustrated that we're not all straight A's. Here's what I think we are, it sucks, but we're all trying, we're all trying to raise it up. And it's tough, especially if you bring people in that don't have startup genes,
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've got any thoughts on that.
No, that's right. I was talking to somebody today about that very thing. You do a lot of a founder role. Part of it is just talking people off of ledges all the time. But one of the things we've realized as we've gotten bigger and we're bringing people in who aren't familiar with the startup world is that discomfort with imperfection.
Yeah.
And you talk about fires, man. I mean, that is all you do is put out fires, but you're trying to put out the fires that seem the most dangerous and let the other ones.
The ones that are going to burn the building down.
Right. Yeah, the ones on the support pillars and the gas tank.
And the stove is okay, right?
Yeah, right. Okay, well that wall's on fire, but it's not a support wall.
Right.
So it's okay.
And I'd say, unfortunately, you're starting fires all the time too. So it's not just about putting them out. Again, I look at the Cindy, and I started a new fire for her this afternoon. It's hey, how busy are you, would you say? I know, it's a dangerous question.
Would you like me to answer that question?
But, I gave her a new thing that we need done, in the next few days, and it's just something I forgot about the board meeting, account plans.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm I'm not walking into that board meeting without account plan. So
Good call.
she's gonna help. Yeah, there you go.
Gotcha.
She's like, sorry, and I was like, I could do it if you don't want to do it, Cindy.
You get pretty comfortable with things being on fire. I think one of the values is you learn that a lot of stuff that's on fire, it's okay. It's okay if it either burns to the ground, or it's okay if it burns for a while. You'll be able to put it out and salvage it, which is really frustrating. It's really frustrating to look at that scorecard and see a lot of F's and D's and be like, yeah, those are going to stay F's and D's for a while.
Yeah.
It just really rubs you the wrong way.
Gotcha.
But if you try to make everything an A right out of the gate, you're dead. It just isn't going to happen. You need to find the few things you really need to level up and focus on those. Let the other stuff burn for a while.
Yeah.
And it gets really hard as you get big because everybody sees a part of that
and at the
report
speed
card.
that you're getting big, right?
Yeah, right. That doesn't help.
Yeah,
but everybody sees their chunk of the report card,
Yeah.
and they see their what's D's and F's there, and they're like angry about that. And
I say fix it.
yeah, I mean that's what you hope happens. And we got a lot of people who do that. They step up and actually try to help instead of. The hope is that instead of people complaining, they bring solutions to the table. I tell this story all the time. Viraj back there, he's the best.
Yeah.
So Viraj tells me constantly, like once a week, he points out another problem. But he always does it in this format, which is like problem, and he'll describe the problem, and then
Here's your solution.
recommended
Yeah,
solution.
there you go. Nice.
And it
Love
usually involves him doing more work. You are the best.
that. Do you pay by the hour by chance?
No, I'd go broke. But he always caveats too, like this won't affect my other work.
Yeah, that's good. Wow.
Awesome.
That's cool. Gotcha. So, love to kind of dig into fundraising. I mean, some of the best gems I've gathered are from talking to you guys in your fundraising journey. I think of all the folks that are out there raising and have been raising over the in the past 5 years or so, I think you guys, I don't know, it just seems like this. I probably talked to the most most investors.
Talk to a lot of investors.
Compared to all the folks. Love to just for you guys to share some of those lessons learned, and not anything that you can because some of the things you shared with me, if you're okay sharing with everybody else, you can't necessarily find on a blog post somewhere. I've never really seen those anywhere else.
There was a point in this most recent round that like we started going downhill. And that was when Frontline, an investor out of Dublin, Ireland, decided that they were going to commit a pretty good amount to our round. And like that afternoon, reached out to the existing investors and like basically matched the amount they committed to the round.
Right.
And like that was like, so I essentially raised like $1.5 million in a day, right? From them and then our existing investors. And it was just like, that 1.5 was like, I don't know, it's like a million times easier than the first 1.5 was.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's just the reality of a lot of things. And I think on sales right now, we're battling this stuff, and it's like, I think there's going to be a point where the dam will break, and then you can start making sales.
Yeah.
And it's just like so hard, and that's the challenge. Is like you might not have enough time to get get over the hill. You know?
Right.
And so fundraising is the same way. I would just say that my advice to anyone fundraising is like go to investor meetings as early as you can to get your ass kicked so that you can get good fast. You know, like because you are bad. Like there's no it doesn't matter how good you think you are. You're bad. You missed something,
right? And
you won't know what the thing is until you go talk to them.
Gotcha.
Could be you missed the fact that you're in an uninvestable space. You know?
Right.
And talk to 50 investors, and you're going to find out like no one will give us money for this, or even if we can get a few people, it's not enough. You know,
Gotcha.
Pivot. You know, so.
If your user cycle, figure out that your user cycle quickly.
Right.
And that only happens when investors are like, "This is terrible. Stop. You're wasting your time."
Yeah. Gotcha.
I'll give you one that I've never read anywhere. That was a really interesting one for me. Trust your co-founder.
Okay.
So my approach to fundraising, like when I've raised money for Cladwell and Ocean and all these other things, my approach is very disciplined and lots of preparation, and I like to tell a very strategic story and be very polished, probably from my fun days. But Rye is the total opposite. Like Rye likes to walk in and just like tell, here's everything wrong with us. You know, like just being a little facetious, but not really. Like
here's all our apps.
Through the course of the meeting, through the course of the meeting, it does get thrown out.
It does, and at first, I'm so mad. I wanted to just strangle him, and we leave meetings, and I'd be like, postmortem right now. How you're an idiot.
Yeah, we're walking to the next pitch,
and I'm screaming at him in the streets of San Francisco, like you're freaking.
Or even doing it subtly, and I'm like, this is well, you probably could have done this little thing.
That's true. I tried being passive aggressive at first. That definitely.
Well, that went well.
I'm like, okay. What did we learn from that? But it's
right. It's like, all right, I guess now I'm ready for the next one. Yeah.
And so the reality is, I do think that hurt us. I think your approach. Here's what I'll say, because this ends up me complimenting Rye, but I'm going to tear him down first.
Yeah.
I think that your approach, Rye's approach, really did like torpedo a lot of potentially really good meetings for us. Where if we'd gone in with a more disciplined strategy, it maybe would have been easier. However, it did work eventually.
Yeah.
We had to take 180 meetings, but it did eventually work. And the investors who invested in us, they're like huge fans. They know everything. There's no bullshit. They love us. There's like it's really cool because there's a level of trust and I think sincerity there that I never had in past investments and other ventures.
That's great.
So it's actually really cool, and I was really humbled by that. You said humble earlier, like being a founder is all about being humbled constantly. But that's an area I was really humbled, is like my paradigm, like it doesn't work for Astronomer because Astronomer's not just me. We had to find a compromise that I think ultimately has been really, really great.
Yeah, so it's like your more arm's length professional relationship is what you were sort of seeking, and I'm more of like, let's get intimate, like, let's really understand each other.
But you don't even play Marvin Gaye on the front end. You're just like, here we go. I didn't shave.
Anyway, so along those lines, sticking with the theme of raising capital, it's kind of this topic that keeps on coming up, especially here in the Midwest. This bumping heads on raising and accelerating fast and being a high growth equity startup and looking for that raise versus look for investors that are just going to invest in you and kind of in it for the long ride and don't be necessarily consumed with the big exit, in 5 years or so, kind of a thing. Kind of a long-winded question, but just can you reconcile that? Just having the model is you're definitely an equity-backed high-growth startup, but that's getting sort of dirt thrown on it lately in terms
I would
of
just say your first startup's going to be a mess,
Yeah.
Like just do it, just get messy and have the mess, and I don't know. You could try to do all this stuff. I think that I was talking to I forget who I was talking to today. Drew Myers today, and I was like, we were talking about my dilution, how diluted are you? I'm like, oh, here's where we are. I'm like, you can't do it any other way the first time, especially here in the Midwest. You just gotta go take your lumps, and next time, if I had another startup, I'll be able to raise money better, and I won't waste as much money along the way, and that's how you avoid dilution. That's most of those guys that are big time Silicon Valley founders, they're 3 times founded. This is their third company, so they're serial and in a great space. So I just say don't worry too much about it. You can just stay alive and build a company that matters. Kudos,
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, so I mean, what Cloudwell's doing, I mean, it's impressive. It's been 5 years of survival or more. I don't know if it's 6 now, but it's I wouldn't worry too much about advice and the path. Just if you can find a path for survival, that's the right path.
That's well said. Seriously, just stay alive. That is so much of it.
So I'll play the contrarian again. So there's some would say that there's a number of startups in our neck of the woods in the Midwest that are sort of on life support, and you can go raise another round, or even the VC's kind of leading that and dumping more money in to kind of keep it going on for optics or whatever reason, or let's see if it catches on. Just respond to that.
I think it's a horrible model to do that. Don't take VC money and build a lifestyle company, because it's better. I was talking to Drew today, and he's like, well, is the only path for you guys to who would you sell? Or no, it wasn't Drew, it was somebody else. But I was basically saying, if we could sell the company to P&G for any amount of money, that looks good on our resume, everyone's resume.
Yeah, right.
So that's what the Valley does. I have a friend out there who started a company called Canvas. He just sold the company to Google. They've never found product market fit. They blew through $3 million of cash.
Gotcha.
And then they sold the company to Google because they couldn't figure it out.
Gotcha.
But he sold his company to Google. That's a big win.
Any amount of money, that's pretty strong. Okay.
Because again, what's he setting himself up for? He's a product manager at Google now.
Yeah.
He's learning shit there.
And he was going to fail.
Yeah, it was dead.
Right. Don't sell for nothing if you can really build it. Yeah.
Even an acqui-hire, if it's like a Google or Amazon.
Yeah, there's always a cost benefit.
Sure.
So I wish there was more acqui-hires here, because I think
that'd be great.
A lot of these companies could get swept up into an acqui-hire. Everyone gets refreshed.
Yeah.
They get more money in their thing, and maybe they're bold enough to go out on another thing. I feel people who are stuck in a 6-year-old startup that isn't really
still trying to get traction, right?
If it's venture backed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we're talking about a small niche of startups.
Yeah.
That choose that path, but you got to understand the environment. You're raising capital for a venture-backed tech company in the Midwest is difficult. It's really difficult, because you're not going to get the valuations and amount of cash, which are related, because if the valuation's too low, you can't take very much cash, but there's not even that much cash to go around in the first place. So you're really hamstrung on how quickly you can grow, and that's really hard. It's hard to keep pace with your coastal peers, because they can raise 2-3x what you can raise.
Yeah,
now their
faster.
burn is higher. and faster, right, at better pricing.
The thing is, we've gotten some great advice, even from Mike Venerable here. It's don't be a Cincinnati company.
Hold on, sorry to interject.
Yeah.
I came here from Silicon Valley this year, and I want to understand exactly what you're saying. So you believe that you're going to get a lower valuation because you're based here?
No, investors here price venture investments lower. So the same.
No, I got it.
Okay.
I got it.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a growth.
What's
inhibitor.
limiting you from appealing to those same investors on the coast?
That's a very interesting question.
So yeah, dig into that.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to say.
Yeah.
So even
I'll
good toss.
reserve my comments for the question and answer period.
Well, no, I mean,
no, it's okay. Let's get into
Did you
it.
ever
But that's the only one.
money offered and turn it down?
Yes.
Yeah,
You did.
Yes.
we had a lot of people that would have invested had we relocated.
Oh, absolutely, sure.
And in the most recent round, we turned down a lot of Midwest money.
We did turn
because,
down a lot of it.
because we got better money.
Yeah.
And so there's everyone, the smart investors that we have now say, stop thinking of yourself as a Cincinnati company. You are a global company. You just happen to be here. You have to compete in the Valley, where we are absolutely working hard to compete in the Valley. If you can't win companies in the Valley, like what's your point? So, we very much view ourselves as in that global arena. We have a co-lead in this current round from the Valley, so that's great. He really wants us to raise the next round with a lead from the Valley.
Yeah.
So I think the Valley is really important. I'll tell everyone, go spend time in the Valley. Don't just meet with investors here. Go meet with investors there, because that's where you're eventually going to have to go, and you don't want to look like a hayseed, when you get there. So
Gotcha. So real quick, and then we'll go to Q&A. Let's talk shop a little bit. So, when we were launching Losan IoT space, it was kind of like almost already IoT was like this, a buzzword that it almost had a negative connotation because it was like everybody wanted to write about IoT. You feel like that's been the case with big data? Is it still kind of people kind of like because it's
big data is
so much?
Big data is off the Gartner has removed.
Okay, gotcha.
Removed it as a hype term now.
Okay.
So, the
data
reality,
engineering kind of the.
I mean, like machine learning and data science is kind of the newest hype word, but it's getting invested to hell. I mean, the thing is now there's so many investors that AI startups are hot, and like 1,000 of them get invested in 2017, and now they've got to figure out the next thing because everyone has a couple of AI companies already.
Gotcha.
So it's tough. I mean, you got to be right on the edge of investability, or you have to really filter investors out because so many of them are just like, we want to do data science companies, AI, or enterprise SaaS. Like they basically just look at whatever the top things are being invested in.
They go to reports, right?
Yes, they say that's what we invest in.
This is what we should invest in. Gotcha. So I'll get really technical on you. Is it GraphQL, right? That was the topic of their most recent blog post. So, as I recall, you guys are doing some REST as well, or did you move from that, or to talk about the REST versus GraphQL?
We don't have REST, right?
No.
I mean, technically, GraphQL.
Or did you move to that?
You're looking at me or Greg?
I'm looking at you right now.
I think we have some RESTful microservices, but the GraphQL is a wrapper for some tiny microservices.
Okay, gotcha. Gotcha.
Mainly Greg.
Gotcha. Is that again? I'm always interested in the choice in content. Is that something that you're getting a lot of value out of, or just a hot topic that you're looking to?
I mean, whether just with differential, we were always on the front edge of some technology.
Yeah.
We're on the front edge of a lot of technologies right now. Basically, if you have smart developers, they want to. I mean, we're using React and all the greatest front end technologies, and GraphQL is the thing right now. So it's cool. It's nice. I mean, the documentation is really cool. Like it's almost interactive. So it's I mean, evolution of APIs from SOAP to REST to GraphQL is a good thing.
Gotcha. What are you guys most excited about now coming up in terms of product or company, or what's on your mind that's got you jazzed up?
How much do you want to say?
Well, I mean, if there's anything you can say, it's a great market to kind of like.
We have our first
give us a little peek.
Product in the market.
True product.
Very soon.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. We've been selling product, but it's been very services heavy.
Okay. Yeah.
I think we're pretty close to launching our first true products, which is always an important milestone.
Yeah, that's great.
I'd say it's our second true product, but it's like the first product we built, we're not very excited about. Clickstream.
Well, true.
Similar segment.
Yeah.
And like people forget that we have it, but it's still there,
including the founders.
But no, we've been on this long journey. We basically started building pipelines for companies as a service to build a platform to make it easier.
Yeah.
And that's been like 18 months. And the tricky part with that, I did a blog post about this, and I think it was Guy Turner from HPVP said, like, avoid services. Like, Planet Services has high gravity. You know?
Yeah.
Like, if you start doing it, it's going to be hard to pull yourself out of that. But we did it anyway, and it just took forever to finally get our engine back to building product, and we're just finally now shipping basically a fully SaaS thing based on the services that we've been doing.
Gotcha.
And that's exciting. I mean, to the point where we want to kill services.
Yeah, cool. Sounds
We
good.
can find a good services partner, like differential.
There you go. Last question, then I'm gonna kick it over to me. Thinking of your questions, folks. Culture. You guys love to talk about culture, big data. They can eat that stuff up. Last question, and both of you guys answer this. What's been your best moment so far in the astronomer journey?
Man, that's tough. We've had 3 good
Has there been a good
moments.
moment? Okay.
I don't know, the moment,
Because they're also good.
the evening immediately following demo day was pretty cool.
Okay, gotcha.
That was neat. I mean, demo day for AngelPad was like 200 like world class investors in the valley. We did demo day in San Francisco, and they rated that all the investors have a score sheet, and they rated all the pitches and then said the ones they want to talk to. And I think we were first or second on that list.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And we were these hicks from Ohio. Like the pedigree of this accelerator is incredible. It was all ex-Google, ex-Amazon, ex-Facebook, all MIT, Stanford, London School of Economics. We were the first company ever in there from the Midwest. So we felt like we always felt kind of like lower class in the
Nobody
program.
from nowhere kind of thing.
Totally,
that
flyover territory kind of thing.
a few times, yeah.
But I think we probably forced us to hustle.
All right, our next company comes from Cincinnati. Thanks, dude. Great setup.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Where's that?
Technology.
Yeah. So I think to go through to survive the program and then to do pretty well in demo day was fun.
Gotcha. Cool. What about you? And again, I'm saying for you guys personally, what was your
I mean, for me, it was when I got the call from Frontline that they were when they were committing to the round. I realized the round was over, and like that was just fundraising, man. If you ever do it, it's just like it's brutal. It's like trying to make it's like sales, except you can't actually close any deals until you get all the deals packaged together in one big bundle, and then maybe you get to close it all.
And unlike sales, it's not them saying this isn't good for me. It's them saying I don't believe this is a good thing.
right.
I don't think your thing is good.
I don't like you. I don't trust you.
Yeah. So you have 140 of the smartest people in the world say, yeah, this just isn't a good.
It's almost worse than that because they don't say that necessarily. They just don't return your calls until. So it's like you don't know where you stand with most of them.
That's right.
And they get mad when like you're closing around and they're like, "Wait, I thought," it's like, "No, you didn't."
And you get to make up all kinds of stories in your head about why, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Right. So that was a great feeling, man.
Cool. All right. So I know you guys all have really good burning, logical questions, insightful questions. Yes.
Piggybacking off that, like, how much do you think investors care about the product versus the people behind it to make it happen? Like, what mix is it, and especially for seed funding, what are they looking for?
That's an important distinction. The stage is really critical in that question.
Yeah.
Seed, you might have a different perspective on this. People are huge at seed.
Yeah.
There are a million great product ideas out there, but very few of them will actually take off because so much of it depends on the right team to push it. So I think people are enormous at the seed stage.
It's not just the quality of people; it's the fit of the people to the idea.
Yeah, that's true.
So I mean,
that's part of the reason we made the title switch. He's been an engineer for 20 years, and we were building a tech company selling to devs.
Yeah,
it was like he should be CEO, obviously. Right. So that's a good add.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's all about people at seed. I think it's about people probably even through A and B and like that. But really at A, at seed, like, man, you just have to be the right person for that idea at the right time, and like the timing is crazy too, because if you're just like a year late to the idea, like they've already invested in it, so sorry, if you're too early and they think it's not going to materialize in 2 years, no deal, so there's a timing aspect to it that's so challenging as well, and it makes you feel bad, like getting all the rejection, but I definitely think though, like you have to make sure that you're in an investable space, which is usually a hard thing because you have to be out in some weird future, by yourself.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part. It's like you have to be the right person for this weird future thing that probably isn't like take Bitcoin.
Pretty lonely.
Yeah. Like all those guys who raise Bitcoin, like there's like Ethereum startups. I'm sure they're going to raise money right now, but who's going to do that? Who's going to be confident that they're going to build an Ethereum-based business? Like you're crazy.
Yeah.
Yet you have to be there right now.
Right.
So
The AngelPad, 4 things. Those are the only things that mattered at AngelPad for seed funding: team, market, product, and traction.
Memory. Yeah.
That was it.
Exactly.
And he literally he
Good feedback.
rips your pitch to pieces. It's 4 blank pieces of paper to write 3 points on each of those 4. That's your pitch.
12 points,
That's all you're allowed to talk about for the next 3 months. Make those 4 slides awesome.
yeah, the funny thing is that was the building block of the pitch. We ran out of time for the program. He gave us 90% of the formula to get ready for demo day, and then we ran out of time. And demo day was here. So disorganized.
Hopefully it's not the most important 10%.
Well, it was.
It was definitely.
Well, 'cause we didn't know. We wrote 3 bullet points for the 4 things. And we thought that was a pitch. And he's like, no. That's just now you have some good content. Now you got to pick from that. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, it would have been nice to hear that, bro.
Thanks, bro.
He would just leak information to us throughout the program. We didn't know what was coming next week.
We should
So
write a blog
secret.
post on the program.
Yeah.
He'd on Friday be like, oh, by the way, be at this address at 9 o'clock on Monday.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, and then you look at it, and it's in San Francisco, and we were in New York. And we're like, oh, we have to get to San Francisco today. And then, but how long do we need to be there? He didn't tell us how long to be there. Should
we asked
stay
him,
for a week?
oh gosh.
Yeah, we'd ask, and he'd get irritated at you. Like, come on, man, that's a lot of money.
That is funny.
Yeah. That was
Good question. Ever, did you have a question? I saw your hand kind of going up. All right.
You can light us up if you want.
I've kind of been throwing softball tosses here. So.
Okay, so the little arcane kind of question: what role does debt play in your capital stack?
We did take $1 million of venture debt in this latest round. The 3 5s, 2 5 preferred, and $1 million venture debt, which I was thrilled about because we'd taken a lot of dilution. So having some non-dilutive capital was really nice. It's with Silicon Valley Bank. And we did some homework on them. It was interesting. The state of Ohio has a venture debt program that we were 4 or 5 months of the way through diligence on. And then SVB came in and basically said, hey, we'll do this deal, and we'll get you a term sheet in a week. And so I reached out to the state and I said, hey, SVB just came to the table with the same deal, but maybe even better terms, and they got a term sheet coming to me in a week. When can I get a term sheet from you guys? And I'm like, oh, it's gonna be at least another 2 months. I don't mean to be disparaging the state, but it was just kind of like, wow, sometimes, this is never a clean process. Yeah. But yeah, we did take a little, and so far we've been pretty happy with that. Interest rates are low, so that's nice.
Are you at liberty to share terms?
Yeah, it's a 3-year note that subsidized interest for the first, no interest for the first year. And then it's prime plus 175, I think. Yeah. So it's
no personal guarantees or anything.
Yeah, no personal guarantees, no board seats, no collateral. Well, yeah, there's collateral, but pretty good terms. So their whole model is they want to participate in all future rounds with some venture debt. So they just sort of,
that's roll it up. Yeah, if it's a good partner.
Yeah, as long as rates stay.
Right.
Yeah, I think a lot of Silicon Valley companies have SVB in their deals. They're smart. I mean, their model's really fucking smart too.
Yeah, it is.
How they just kind of tag on at the end of a round
and that's the brilliance. Their diligence can be a lot shorter because they always piggyback. They have to.
They figure you're starting to vet it out.
Yeah. So that's the kicker. If they like your lead VCs, they'll invest. If they don't, they won't.
Cool. Good question.
I didn't know you actually rolled. Did you roll the entity that was UserCycle into Astronomer, or was that kind of a mess?
We merged. So we had UserCycle was an Ohio LLC. Astronomer is a Delaware C Corp. So we actually merged the LLC into the C Corp because we had these weird IP things. So Ash was still owned a chunk of the UserCycle IP, and so we actually had to buy him out and then merge the who they all see.
But he doesn't own 40% of this room.
He owns nothing now. We gave him all the brand assets back on user cycle in exchange for all of his shares.
Gotcha.
Which history will
Yeah,
we'll see if that was a good choice or not. But we think it was good.
Good
for us.
bet. Anyone? Let's go. Good burning questions. All right.
So from a sales and kind of marketing perspective, there's the naive entrepreneur, like the building and every company. What was some of the challenges from the sales perspective to get that very first customer, to get that initial CSE?
All right, so this is fun. First of all, I probably built 10 or 15 side projects in my career that did nothing or did little, but a couple did a little, which was cool, but mostly nothing. For Astronomer, again, so we were in an accelerator where traction was an important part of the pitch, right?
Yeah.
So during the program, we had to come up with a traction story for a product that we had just launched. So there was a week during the program where he said, fuck startups, go after big companies, right? This is Tomas. And so we're like, how are we going to talk to big companies? We actually called Centrifuge, got the list of, they have like a list of 300 big co things. And I got Brad, I said, Brad, start calling all these people, get us meetings. We need to get some deals in place for demo day, And he did, and we did. And like we came back like the next week, I think we had 20 calls or something in a week, from ground zero. Including some that were, like Charlie from Los Angeles, like, oh yeah, you could just say I'm in, yeah.
Thanks, Charlie. He is a bro. He's saved our life many times.
I was like, yeah, just whatever AR, I'll confirm it.
Whatever you need to do. You be on the team, I'll be on the team.
Yeah. So we got some loose. We had about 100K of ARR at demo day. But it wasn't the tightest 100K of ARR, Let's just say.
We didn't include Charlie.
We didn't
Fake ARR.
Fake ARR. But they, some of that ARR didn't materialize in the end, So, but we thought it would.
Yeah.
But that's so first customer. Like when did that become a first customer? So that's why I think it's great to do these accelerators, because it forces you to go so much more aggressive than you would ever go by yourself. Like, we would have never called those companies, and it wasn't for Tomas throwing our pieces of paper off the table and saying, do this, So it was great,
I think we're getting better now as a region, like the greater Cincinnati region, on kind of the growth. And growth hacking is another term that's kind of like beyond buzzword, but just the growth mentality of everybody in the organization kind of having that growth mentality.
Yeah.
And I feel like you guys from early on were sort of on that train early on, more so than a lot of the other startups. We still don't really have a strong growth mindset in the Midwest.
It's
here in
the
Cincinnati.
only way to. So I think it's the only way to build a product, because our product strategy has changed so much since those early days when you just have an idea.
Yeah.
And that all happens through like getting into the market and seeing where the real pain is, trying to get people to buy your thing, realizing nobody's going to pay that for this. One of the things he also did was he said 10x your price and see what happens. It's like if your product, I think we were doing like 100 a month or something. He's like, what if it was 1,000 a month? What if it was 10,000 a month? Who's the buyer then?
Yeah.
And it forces you to like really think outside of your limited product box, and then go out and try to actually sell that and see what happens.
Yeah.
And you learn a lot very quickly that way. And you gotta be, right. Like you need to be in an environment where you're being pushed to be super aggressive on that, because nothing in you wants to pick up the phone and start calling, your dad's Rolodex to try to get meetings and pitch something that doesn't exist to these people. Yeah. But if you don't, you're gonna slow down, you're gonna stall out.
It comes back to lean startup. I remember, I was big into lean startup when we started Differential, because I was actually part of user cycle.
He
wrote the book.
Startup too. So
yeah. So, but I remember like when I met Cladwell was the only company I'd ever met that had done lean startup by the book. I don't remember how or why you guys did that.
I love the philosophy.
Yeah.
The canvas is awesome.
Yeah. So they literally they were at coffee shops talking to people.
We were, man. We got kicked out of coffee shops. We'd be sitting at the table and be like, hey, can I just ask you like 5 questions really fast? I know this is super weird.
Yeah, right.
I'll buy you a cup of coffee if you just fill out this survey. But that was the only way to do it. You don't have money for marketing yet. You just need people to react to something.
Yeah, that's cool. What else you got? I slipped in one of my questions there, so.
I would just make a comment, the group here has talked a lot about geography, and there are definitely differences. The biggest difference I see is probably cultural. I myself moved to Silicon Valley from San Diego, and I ended up in DC in power industry, so power plants across Asia. And I had done some IT early in my career, and so I was kind of leveraging that to change jobs. And similar to yourself, I was like starry-eyed, going to Silicon Valley, and I was like, oh my gosh, I know nothing. And I couldn't have been more wrong, actually. And not because I'm great, but because one of the aspects of those people is that they jump from job to job to job to job. And they don't, a lot of times they don't develop any discipline or professionalism in what they do. And that's certainly not everybody there, but it's definitely a certain group of them. But upon that is this incredible creative destruction that celebrates risk-taking that is hard to replicate here.
Yes.
The East Coast, in New York, you don't see it because the cost of living is so high, right? And that's another great strength about Cincinnati that Silicon Valley doesn't have and hasn't had for a long time, is that your cost of living here is so low that in fact you can take more risk than the average Joe in California. So there are some comparative advantages here. But, it is a different environment. I don't care where you are though. Accessing money is just an inefficient market. So, and that's another area where it's really hard to judge what is the cause of it not coming through for you or anyone else. It's just so who you know and how you pitched and all this other crap. Anyway, so
That's
my
good.
perspective. The story I'll tell people is, my first business failed. I had one bankruptcy, and I ended up being part of Equinix. It's the largest data center firm on the planet now. And I remember going to the founder there and saying, my first business failed. And he looks at me, he's like, why are you such a pussy? Like, when you've got 3 bankruptcies, then come to me and anyway, that's the environment there. It's really good.
I hope that really becomes the mantra here in the region.
I've been amazed. I mean, the community here to me is so much more accessible because in your own experience aside, that community there can be very cliquey. Like I used to call them the Stanford Mafia because they all knew each other and they were all doing deals, and it was really hard to get in and get those meetings on Sand Hill Road and otherwise. And
we only got it because of AngelPad.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have gotten. I mean, maybe some, but not to the degree. That opened a lot of doors.
It still does. Yeah.
Yeah, it still does. You're right. It's very cliquey. If you didn't go to MIT or Stanford, mainly Stanford, you're gonna have a hard time.
I mean, in Stanford, they're an introduction organization.
Right.
That's basically what they do for their graduates is hook them up. It's incredible.
Yeah. Great machine.
It is.
We'll make sure we get any other questions out there. Anybody from the astronomer team? You got your guys up here. You can, Greg. You wanna?
Who wants a raise?
It's Just saying right as you said that, right? Who wants a raise?
You guys aren't running the company in the data space. Which space would be it?
That's a good question.
Oh man, I have so many. Oh, that's
I mean, I have other ideas, but none that are. See, that's the tricky thing. Like, you have to come up with an idea that makes you so uncomfortable you don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about some of my other ideas. Like I don't even want to mention them because they're that's stupid.
It's a delicate butterfly.
That's not my idea though.
But it's not that they're delicate. Delicate butterflies are just potentially stupid. So plus, again, at this point, all my creative energies go into the company right now. There was a time when even at differential, we were trying to come up with ideas. That was part of the business. But before that, I had all kinds of business ideas. I have no new business ideas right now because I'm tapped out. Sure. But so I'll tell you. I could tell you about my. I'll just tell you real quick. My silly idea right now is I would love to opt out of the current food system. I want to basically give all my money to a company. We'll use AI to feed me, and I don't go to and don't give me any money so I can't go to restaurants or traditional grocery stores. I think it sucks that healthy food costs more than cheap food than unhealthy food, and it shouldn't because it's unprocessed. So I'm if I could just give someone $500 a month and I have an app where I can get them to bring me food, or I can go to. So I think that'd be a cool business. Like I think retail food and restaurants are just
disrupting big food, right?
Yeah, it's just such a devilish thing. You know, you can tell.
Food industrial.
You try to eat good, but like it's really hard to get good food.
Yeah.
You know? So.
Pre-sales, right?
Are you in?
Yeah.
See? I'm telling you, man.
Nice.
$500.
$500.
I live in OTR.
Non-solicitation agreement is kicking in.
Gotcha. Anybody else?
I
about
think
you?
it's a real problem too. I mean, as someone who never cooks, but it's like my girlfriend cooks all the time. But my view as an engineer is always like, do I want to spend an hour cooking and like 15 minutes cleaning up, or do I just want to order Uber Eats or drink some?
Gotcha. Did you have a response to that?
Pivot.
What space you'd be in?
I really want to do something disruptive in the insurance industry, not the property and casualty insurance industry, which is like $1 trillion industry.
Yeah.
It's filled with people who don't like technological change.
Yeah.
So I've got a couple of ideas I've always kicked around there, and then I want the process of high-end real estate selling to be much more like an high-end arts.
Okay, gotcha.
So I worked for a very wealthy person, and one of the things I did for him was sell. He had a big mansion in Indian Hill, and I helped sell it. And we created this really cool web experience around it. It was very exclusive feeling.
Yeah.
And instead of just listing it on MLS, like I think a beautiful home, a great, wonderful home should be very much like a great, wonderful piece of art, which hangs in galleries.
Yeah.
So I've always thought that'd be fun to build a little. It wouldn't be venture backable, but it'd be a fun little lifestyle.
Yeah, based on the experience. Well, I'll flip that. So if you hadn't launched Astronomer, what other things that you guys had going on at the time would you have done? Like real things that you were going looking like.
I had Ocean.
Yeah.
I launched Ocean while while working on User Cycle. Probably part of the reason I failed.
Yeah.
So it's not a good idea. You shouldn't do that. But we were launching Ocean at the time, and I'd still love to. I probably would have spent more time on that.
Okay.
But Astronomer.
Gotcha.
Assumed me there.
Yep. What you were?
No, it would have been the next idea at Differential. Like there would have been some idea. Like we were literally like pumping out a new idea every 2 or 3 months to launch a product company. And so if it wouldn't have been User Cycle, it would have been something else. What's that?
Bitcoin.
Yeah, we had Bitcoin. We had a Bitcoin mining company with like 200K in pre-orders that we killed. Gotcha. Yeah. So.
All right. Any other questions? Or I'll close it up here. Any other questions? I'll close with one more real short question unless anybody else has another one. Anyone? Going once? Going twice? All right, here's a real short one. I know a lot of folks that I talk to sort of list you guys as sort of mentors, or at least folks that have people that have influenced them and helped them out. Who's a great opportunity to kind of give a shout out to folks who have helped you guys out and mentored you and had an influence on your life.
Yeah, great. So I'll give 2. One was my first board member for Cladwell, who really shaped my perspective on culture and the importance of investing in your people. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of different approaches to how to build a team. Sure. Yeah, Jeremy Pryor. He's the founder of a company called Pithio.
Okay.
And it wasn't a perfect business, but there was something really empowering. So he basically treated anybody who came in the door like an owner and gave them that level of responsibility. And it meant you either spectacularly failed out of the business, which happened, or you took off. But nobody was like an employee. Gotcha. And I've always really liked that. So I've always been a fan of kind of giving people a lot of responsibility and a sense of ownership. Mm-hmm. And then the other was one of our first investors in Astronomer, a guy named Morris Wheeler, has a fund out of Cleveland, and that guy has been such a pain in the ass, but he has helped us so much, and he's always this like edge advice that you're like, man, that doesn't seem like a good idea, but then it always proves out to have been a really good idea. Wow, and you love having somebody who's maybe a little crazy as an advisor, because they help you see things from a perspective nobody else is looking at.
Gotcha. Cool. Ryu?
I had 2 investors in my head, and that's really boring to name 4 investors, basically. But no, I mean, I honestly have to give Mike Venerable props.
Yeah, Venerable's great.
Even though, like, when I first met him, I didn't like him, he didn't like me, and I feel like everyone feels that way when they meet Mike Venerable.
I'm still working on my relationship.
I mean, most people are.
I'll follow that.
yeah, and I don't know that. Wait, is this being recorded?
He stopped it about 5 minutes ago.
It was live stream.
Yeah.
He ran out of film.
We have a board meeting next week, so we'll probably beat us up.
Yeah, but overall, I mean, he's been talking to us for a long time, and I mean, really hasn't said a lot of words to us during that time, but they were good words.
Yeah.
I would say Harsh Patel, the other lead for us for the current round. I mean, Greg was out there with a meeting. He was just, I mean, he was a first investor in Palantir. You know, I think he understood exactly what we were trying to do and exactly what was wrong with us, and really helped guide us to something that he was willing to invest in.
Yeah.
You know, so, but he would just give us. It's great. That's actually, to me, another part of the Silicon Valley ethos is like, you get the right people there, like they keep giving you their time. Like they are so generous with their time.
Really?
Beyond, I mean, again, there are some people that aren't, but I mean, in general, like they've all been helped. You know, they've all had someone do that. So they're all in payback mode, pay it forward mode, whatever.
Gotcha.
Harsh was that way, man. Every time we'd go out there, be like, hey, Harsh, you want to meet? Sure, you know, and
Yeah.
get another hour of his time. And it was probably like 5 meetings before we got his money.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, great. Well, along those lines, I mean, I know one of you guys is a big commitment to give of your time, you know, so I definitely appreciate you both being here tonight and giving back to the startup community, the entrepreneurial community. So I definitely appreciate it. These guys will be around for a little bit, for another 5 more minutes or so, and until however long they can stay. Sure, they'll make some friends, and feel free to come up and chat with them and talk about specific concepts. But with that, thank you guys. Big round of applause for these guys.